Aston. Now he's a California guy.
Still.
It's like my son-in-law. He's like, I'm Greek. I'm like, you're so not Greek. You were born here.
No, Boston.
You're like an American kid.
Bodies in Cali, hearts in Boston. That's what it works.
Okay. Yeah. So we start every show with Boston John's Record Roundup.
There you go.
Where we recommend an album for those of you out there to check out sometime.
Yep.
And traditionally, we've had John go first because it was his idea to do this.
Yep.
So, John, what's your album pick this week?
My Radio Believed Me. I Like It Loud.
Oh, my gosh.
And you say I could rock the crowd. Yeah, I'm going to pull up some LL.
That is cool.
Because everyone knows him from the crime show that he's on or whatever. But half the people don't realize he had a career before that.
See, and I don't know him from the crime show, so I'm just like,
yeah.
Why wouldn't they know?
I don't either.
He's on some television show, some
Round
crime,
the Way Girl, like what?
Some Spy Girl type thing he's doing. Yeah. So when rap started out, we had Grandmaster Flash and Run DMC and Houdini, and that ran its course. And then a little later on down the road, where are we going to go? Probably with this 86,
Def Jam, right?
85, 80. Oh, it's Def Jam.
It's Def Jam.
Let's pull it. It's Def Jam, Columbia Records for sure.
Yeah.
I Can't Live Without My Radio. You'll Rock. I Need a Beat. And, this was like the first. He was a pioneer. And when nobody sounded like him. He sounded like an angry rapper at first.
That doesn't have I'm Bad on it, does it?
No, that came later. That was the
next album, right?
Yeah.
Which one is Bells on?
Rock the Bells. The remix of that is on here. Yeah, that's on this. It's on this one. And it was an interesting time, and I remember grabbing that. And certain crowds you could play it for, but it came to every gig because you never knew when we were going to break loose and be that party.
Where did we first see LL Cool J? First time
he was
he was in Beat Street. He was
it was I thought, was it Beat Street? I thought it was Crush Groove.
Oh, Crush Groove. Yeah, there you go.
Am I right or wrong? I might be wrong.
Crush Groove had Run DMC, so yeah, that makes sense.
It probably because they were Def Jam.
Beat Street's the king of the beat.
Also had Sheila E in it, who was Paisley Park, so that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And then Jam and Lewis did the Force and D's Tender Love thing in that as well.
Love that.
Yeah.
One of the best slow jams of that period in my opinion.
It's a beautiful song.
Force MDs. I'll play that with I Die For You by PM Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
And then Janet Jackson Come to Me. That's a triple header that melts the crowd.
No, it's beautiful. That's beautiful. And that's all, pretty much. Well, I don't know who did PM Dawn, but it sounds like a Jam and Lewis thing. I know it's not Jam and Lewis, but it sounds like that.
It does. It's got beautiful production.
Yeah.
Really crystal clear piano, and it's a beautiful track.
Sure. So the pick for this was just this is the in between, where grammar school hip hop. Run DMC wasn't really great with rhyming. They could rhyme easy words. Anything that ended with simple syllables. LL was a little more complex. We weren't quite at the Eric B and Rakim level yet.
He was just a little kid too. He was 17 years old, wasn't he?
Yeah. It was the in between, and that was the carryover before rap became what it is. So check out LL Cool J's older stuff.
Nice pick.
That's my pick.
Nice one. Jay, what do you got this week?
Well, I'm going to go electronica, and I'm going to go to one of the very first. This could honestly be the very first electronic thing I ever picked up.
Okay.
Because it was at a period where I was still really into the rock scene.
Uh-huh.
But I loved Kate Bush.
Mm.
Even her, Man with a Child in the Eyes and Running Up the Hill and all that, Wuthering Heights. And I heard her voice on a local radio station. And I'm like, what is this? This is awesome. And I went out and I picked up a little, at the time, CD by a band self-titled called Utah Saints.
Aha.
And the track with Kate Bush, they did a sample of one of her songs, and it's a track called Something Good, which some of the younger viewers may know from 2009.
Mm-hmm.
2008, it came back, and they re-released it, but with a different vibe. And the video had a running man, and he was going around England to different bars and doing the running man. And it kind of got some more notoriety then. But it's interesting because they sampled from 3 groups: Kate Bush, Slayer, technically 4, because they also sampled a little bit of the voice from Kiss Alive 2, You Wanted the Best, You Got the Best, the hottest band in the world. They sample that, and then they take the sample from a Slayer song, and they do the Eurythmics. There Must Be an Angel. They sample that.
What year is this?
1992.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's actually really good. It was, like I said, I'd heard dance music before, obviously, but I wasn't into it enough to say, oh, this is Orbital, or oh, this is Aphex Twins, or oh, this is I could not speak that language.
Sure.
So my ground zero was really Utah Saints. But it was enough to then go into the next step and the next and the next. So it was really my gateway into dance music. And it's a weird electronica. Like, it's hard to call it house. Because they're a band, and it's electronic music. I mean, how would you describe Utah Saints? If you put them in a genre, what would you call them? They're not jungle. They're not really house. They're not really trance or anything like that.
It's just like, I don't know. Back then I refer, and it's wrong to do, but back then I would refer to that stuff as Eurodance.
Okay.
That's what I would call it as an American.
What else
DJ.
around it would you use that we could say, oh, you would compare Utah Saints with?
Yeah, Kicks Like a Mule, The Bouncer. I would, that kind of stuff was played, back then in clubs when I was spinning. That was played right alongside everything else that was cool. It was played alongside more of the black box and the.
I was going to say black box, almost Egyptian loverish.
No, completely different vibe. That's electro. That's more akin to freestyle and hip hop than electronic music, or what we call like the Euro dance stuff. It was all kind of spearheaded by house,
right,
and techno and stuff.
It just seemed like a new interpretation of it.
But all that stuff, it's I don't know. Back then, it seemed to me like there were several different types of music that all went together well, and none of it followed a particular pattern except the 4/4 time dance beat. But some of it was more techno, and some of it was more house and ravey and
electronic and rap, like Twilight 2, Electric Kingdom. Like,
if
you were playing Run DMC and went into that, all of a sudden everyone's like up on the dance floor ready to start.
You could totally do that
because it was 128 BPM and it was
and because
92s and like
electro and hip hop have a kinship, as do like what we now call freestyle and hip hop have a kinship.
Right. I remember shortly thereafter going to the same used record store and saying like, hey, what's up? Oh, hey, man, how's it going? Hey, I got Utah Saints here like a couple weeks ago, looking for some more stuff like that. And I walked out with a CD called, I probably got it in the garage. And the best I can think of the name is, it was a double disc. And it was pretty much everything was 140 BPM or more.
Ooh,
yeah.
And it was like, like this is rave or this is dance, but like hard. And I just remember putting it out in the car and trying to get really into it and being like, I'm going to put the like New Judas Priest tracks on instead. So it took me a little bit to then slide into Tiesto and Carl Cox and all that stuff. But yeah, there was a little bit of a roadblock.
Oh, this is not the one. Now you've got me onto something else. There's something I'm looking for that I want to show you. Here it is. I found the picture of it. Oh, here it is. Okay, here we go. So what you're reminding me of is what I was doing back then in the clubs. There was something that I found, and I'm switching directions. I was going to share a different album, but now that we're talking about this, what I used to do is in the club days, you want to bang for your buck, because I wasn't making a lot of dough, but I wanted cool stuff.
Right.
And I used to go to this place called Camelot Music, and I used to look at the import CD compilations. And I would spend $60, $70 on a CD if it was right.
Wow.
And here's one that I bought that I want to share with you, that if you can get a hold of it, it's a fantastic sampler of everything that you're talking about, Jay, that early 90s stuff. But it was everything. And this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. It's a 3 CD set. I think I have 2 copies of it still. It's called
But
The
that
Greatest.
explains the $60.
Well, but it's really good. And it was import, legitimately import.
Yep.
It's called The Greatest Hits of Dance. And I'm going to show you a picture of it from Discogs, because just talking about it is going to sound really vague. That's what the cover looks like. And it is indeed a 3-disc set. It's not even going for that much money here for resale. The highest it's ever sold for is $11.50, but it's really good. If you go into Discogs, you could probably find yourself a copy of it.
See is Salt and Pepper.
Well, but everything worked together.
Yeah.
See, okay, look at this. Here, look at the track
Box.
listing.
That's Crystal
Snap the Power, Heavy and the Boys, Now That We Found Love, Black Box, Right on Time, Bizarre Inc., I'm Gonna Get You, Seeds Music Factory, Gonna Make You Sweat. Everything's on here. This was
Rosilla,
a banger.
Everybody's Free. Yeah, those
Right.
are Seal Crazy. That's a
You see, you got
Hold on.
Velvet DeVoe on there with Poison. And now it's got New Jack, right? And so it's crossing a lot of lines.
This track is fantastic right here. Kim Sims, Too Blind to See It. I don't know if you know that one or not. I love that song. She had another track called Take My Advice that was good too, but Too Blind to See It, when that would come on, man, I would crank that up. That was such a good tune. Kevin Sanderson, Inner City, Big Fun, of course, classic.
Oh, yeah.
Crystal Waters.
You're on techno.
Yeah, but I think there's Utah Saints in here is what I'm...
Yeah, there is. Utah Saints.
So
what can you do for me? That's the sample track from Slayer.
All of this stuff...
Lisa Stansfield.
Works together, or it used to work together.
Yep.
Wow.
You could play it in the same club.
Ice Baby.
Yeah. Dude, it was a love fest. It wasn't like... Look,
that was hot back then. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Double Trouble, Street Tough. That one's fun.
Technotronic.
Ray's Break for Love. That one's weird. Here's Kicks Like a Mule, The Bounce Ride. Mentioned that one earlier when we were talking. And that's what got me thinking, maybe I ought to share this collection.
It's a lot of like energy, like the Pulse energy, like the Jock Jams vibe in some of it.
Yeah, totally. I remember
here's that Smarties Sesame's Treat I was telling you about, Jay. Remember I played that one for you?
Oh, yeah. When I was doing my Dark
yeah, it's right here. Smarties Sesame's Treat. It's right here.
Yeah.
Adamski, which is basically Seal. Killer. That's the first time I ever heard Seal.
And Seal's on this. There's Crazy on this too.
Yeah, but Adamski's Killer's here too.
Right. Which is Seal.
That's Seal.
Yeah.
So it's just a really neat collection. It gives you a really good taste of everything that was happening back then.
That period.
Yeah, nice compilation for sure.
It's really good.
Wow.
I recommend that you at least give it a listen, or maybe if you don't want to make the purchase,
or at least if you have these tracks, put them all in a crate or
have a look at the tracks. Yeah, and these are all the radio edits too.
Version of it. Yeah,
these are all radio edits. So if you look at the times, none of them are like stupid long. Look, get ready for this is 2 minutes and 52 seconds long. That's perfect.
Yeah,
and that's rapless, which I always preferred for that. But this is, I guess you asked me why I don't do a lot of extended versions. This is how I kind of cut my teeth. I could afford to do this.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes
and you can jump around and you'll get more bang for the buck because you're going to get more songs out of it. And the BPMs are all over the place too. There's slow stuff on here. There's, high energy 136 up in here too. Some of those.
I mean, some of these tracks I wouldn't play, but so many of them I did. So many of them I played.
Wow.
And it was just a lot of fun.
Remember that late 90s, those ESPN Jock Jams would come out, and I would literally be like, for a while, going back and forth between two of them.
Well, those
it was just the high energy stuff.
If I remember right, Bobby D mixed those, and it's like one continuous track because it's like a mix.
Yeah, you could break them. They were broken as well, but there would always be like a sample in between, like a horn or an announcer. Yeah, exactly. There'd be something that you could let it play through.
This one
I always tried to not do that.
This particular collection I'm talking about here, this is not that way. These are the individual singles.
Okay, perfect.
And they're typically the singles. Now that I know more about how things work, these are the singles that they were playing on Radio 1, like BBC Radio 1. So it's the stuff that they were familiar with over there. But it's a UK import, cool disc.
Nice.
So, kind of a weird one. Not a record, but...
Good pick. No, but it's
Yeah.
I had now that's what they call music volume 1 last week. So you're
I guess it's fair.
So yeah, it's all fair.
I actually had a different one in mind that maybe I'll share later.
Okay.
But
sounds good.
Kind of in the same vein of what I showed here. But you know what I thought we'd talk about this week for fun? I thought it'd be fun.
What's that?
Well, I don't know. The idea came to me last night, and for some reason, I felt like it was a good idea and it was a unique idea, although we've probably done this show 8 times already. But for some reason in my head, this just seemed like the coolest thing to do and that you would get into.
Okay.
Somebody's just starting out, and they're starting to get into music, and they're only familiar with new stuff. And what you need to do is recommend a great album for them to check out.
Oh.
It's like, you know what? What was going on back in the day? What did things sound like? What's a really good album to listen to? You know, what would that album be?
See, it's
because we just kind of did that.
Yeah, but I think there's, and I'm sure you guys remember this too. When I was building my collection in the mid '90s, I knew enough to start with swap meets, used record stores.
Yeah.
Talk to DJs. Hey, where did you get that? What's that on? Oh, I got it on this like best of metal.
Right.
Okay, I got to go get that CD. And then it was, you got to get the 80s compilation series where you've got 80s rock from 82 to 84 and then 80s new wave from 83 to 86.
You know what? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but maybe we got to do compilations this week.
That's where I would send, if a new DJ came to me and said, how do I get older music? I would send them to the world of compilations because for the most part, as DJs, we understand we may love that B-side and we may love the track 7 on that CD, but the reality is you're playing maybe just 1 or 2 songs from that piece of work.
How are you feeling about this idea, John?
I'm good with it, actually. I came prepared with my cassette singles tonight. Just
nice. We were going to talk about your singles. Yes.
If we have time, we can come around to it, or we can do a show on that. I was going to pull it up and say, did you buy it on vinyl? Did you buy the cassette single, or did you wait till it was digital?
Right.
And just get the vibe from you guys. But I got about 20 of them sitting here that I pulled for it. So
I mean, there are albums you have to buy. If you say to somebody, I need some rock from the late 80s, you have to buy Appetite.
Get one at a time. Because we're going to do compilations.
Okay.
We've decided to do compilations.
That works.
Okay.
I would not recommend you do Appetite for Destruction, by the way. I don't like that album.
Well, I love that.
It's not even a good recording.
No, but it's what people expect to hear for at least 4 tracks that you could get away with at a gig for playing 80s rock.
Yeah, I suppose.
I mean, that's a lot on one record to have 4 tracks that are bangers, and there's really 5. So.
On the radio station,
bang for your buck is what.
Play Welcome to the Jungle, play Welcome to the Jungle, play, and whole college experience when I was playing rock shows. Welcome to the Jungle. Nobody ever asked for Sweet Child. Nobody asked for Paradise City. I was out of it before those were later.
They came much later.
I remember Paradise City was in some teen movie.
Yeah.
Where the kid got drunk and he lip synced it and all the girls thought he was cute then or something. And after that, it blew up. So maybe this is the show. Now that we've kind of waffled around about this a little bit, maybe the show is any record that's got good bang for your buck, compilation or otherwise. Because Jay made a good point or made an interesting point where Appetite for Destruction, no matter how I feel about it, has 4 good songs on it that you could absolutely use if you're doing 80s rock.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
I like it. I'm going with it. John, you're next.
That's money. Then you got to grab Poison. That's got Every Rose Has Its Thorn. And
does that look what the cat dragged in?
It's newer.
Open up and say
Open up and say ah. That's going to give you not on Skinny Bop, but it's going to give you the other stuff, like the early Poison stuff that was all hot hair bands, right?
Nothing But a Good Time.
Yep.
Every Rose.
Fallen Angel. There's like a bunch of stuff on there that's playable and usable.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't give too many, but that opens up a whole can of worms of 7 or 8 records that you could say, wow, there's 4 hits on that. There's 5 number ones on that. So
I will see your Poison open up and say, yeah, and I will raise you Bon Jovi, Slippery When Wet.
Slippery When Wet. Yeah. Same
Same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Got enough bangers
Yep.
And if somebody goes, "Oh man, you got anything slow, like kind of like hair metal, like boom,
Never Say Goodbye. Boom. There you go.
There
you
you
get
go.
one. You're dropping
I
a jam.
forgot about that song.
yeah,
That's a nice song.
That was a prom song. I think that was.
yeah."
I think you're right.
That was a bigger album than I think people remember.
Although my prom thing was "I'll Be There for You."
That's on New Jersey,
It's the Bon Jovi, though. That's funny.
Yeah, that's New Jersey.
Well, I'm 89, so yeah.
Isn't it New Jersey?
Probably.
I think.
Is that for you? Yeah, I think that was the.
I think that was New Jersey. We had "I'll Be There for You."
And you know what? The one you just mentioned, I just forgot about it again. What was it?
Never Say Goodbye.
Never Say Goodbye. That's a nice song. I forgot about that.
Song.
It's a very nice song.
Say goodbye. Yeah. Beautiful song. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've used that for slow dances with older couples, and they dance to it because it's a nice, easy beat to follow, and it's not complicated. Who cares? It's a rock band.
I'm going to put that back in my repertoire. I forgot all about that tune. So thank you. Thank you.
Yep. Good song.
Is it my turn?
Your turn.
Bang for your buck. This is for fun, but it's chock full of fun. And most of these songs you'd never heard of. It was my second pick. It's also a CD. And I'm going to show you what it looks like, because if I just say it, it's not going to make any sense. So the CD is called This Year in, depending on where you're from, Ibiza or Ibiza, with a lisp.
Yeah, that's how Mike Tyson says it. Yeah.
Yeah. I say Ibiza because I'm not from Spain, but the cool kids say Ibiza. This is fantastic. There are I think it's from 99. Yes, it is. It's from 99. And it's a really good sampling of, I think, when the dance music and that whole scene was kind of at its peak. It still plateaued a little more than that, but it went up a little more, then it plateaued, and then it kind of went down. But this is good stuff. This is Paul Johnson, Get Down. That's a great song.
Down. Yeah, I don't want to say too much of it, or we'll get a copyright strike. But
really. Daryl Pandy. This is the guy who was the vocalist on "Love Can't Turn Around," the house song. Marshall Jefferson. Oh no, not Marshall Jefferson. Was it Farley Jack Master Funk? He was the guy who sang on there, and it's "Sunshine and Happiness" is a beautiful song. Moloko sing it back. Anyway, there's nothing but great tracks. Eclipse Makes Me Love You is amazing. They're using "Depending on You," the sample from Sister Sledge, which is actually now Rodgers and Burnett Edwards, as the loop on here, and it's really fun. It's a double disc, and there's not a bad song on it. And a lot of them, like I said, you may never heard of, but it's all so good. It's tons of fun.
Yep.
Of course, you've heard of Eiffel 65 Blue, but a lot of
back on the charts again, thanks to BB Rexa. Yeah, so
Pete Heller, Big Love, that's another great one, and they're using a sample from Stargard. What the hell's the name of that song? Oh boy, come on, dude. What's the name of the song? I can't even remember. It'll come to me. But anyway, they're using a sample from that for Big Love. Anyway, this is a really good one. Check it out. And what, they want a whole $5 for it here on Discogs? You can just buy it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
What helped me on this, because I forgot his first name. Pete Heller wasn't in the Jam and Style Council, was he? That was.
I don't think that's the same cat.
No, but that guy's last name is Heller too. One of the original members of the Jam, who then went and formed Style Council. Like
the Stargard song is "Wear It Out." That's the song they sampled for Big Love.
Okay.
That's the song. It's really, really good. I could listen to that extended version for like 10 minutes long. I could listen to it on loop all day and have a great time. It's just nice.
99, 2000 was awesome for like European club and house, because that's when I got into listening to the Essential Mix and Radio 1 BBC, because the internet was born in like 94, 95, right? And we had access to them. I was talking to people in England that I'd never met, and they're just feeding me names. They're like, "Oh, you need Binary Finery. You need to know who this person is. You need to know. And they just." And I'm like, I'm looking this up. I'm like, that's not available here. There's no access.
Somebody is saying it's Paul Weller, not Heller. I'm pretty sure
Paul
it's
Weller. Thank you. No, they're right. I couldn't think of his first name.
Oh, the guy from the Jam. Okay, the Jam, I thought they were okay. Yeah.
Heller got me thinking of. I'm like, oh, is it Paul Heller? wait, that doesn't sound right. You know what I mean? Like you get
Yeah.
part of the name, so it was Weller, not Heller. Thank you for that correction.
Yeah.
I could not suddenly think of his name, but Style Council.
The actor Paul Rudd, my father, Paul Rudd, not the same guy.
Not the same man. A lot, oftentimes mistaken, but never duplicated. No. I bought Binary Finery on a CD single because, again, someone said, you have to have this. Because I'd heard some Euro track that, for the life of me, it was Get Down, GITDOWN, Get Down, and this girl DJ in San Diego from a lesbian club had done a boat party for us and played it, and she had it only on vinyl, and I just remember being like, what song is this? And it's
what year?
You're looking over her shoulder, and it's a white label, and you there's nothing to read. It's just
are you sure it wasn't like, Paul Johnson? Get Down?
No, this was like Genoizer or Genoizer or something. I'll find it. I've got it because I got it through some Euro source of mine.
Okay.
And when you hear it, it's very fast. It's like 145 BPM.
Oh,
but it's got all these ebb and flow, peak and valley. And she's like, oh, you got to get Binary Finery too. And you got to get Children. And you got to get this. And you got to get,
Oh, that's nothing. That was a banging period for music. There's so much good stuff. But 1997 to like 02, right in there. It's a pocket.
A lot of it was underground too. Club. The mainstream stuff wasn't blowing anybody's head off, but the underground stuff was really fun.
That was the stuff everyone wanted, or they thought they wanted. Well, it's also back in the day when the DJ ruled the crowd. The crowd came to see the DJ because they wanted to hear stuff they hadn't heard, versus now the crowd comes to see the DJs because they have a specific song on their fucking phone, excuse me, John, that they have to hear because it's Drake's new single that dropped 20 minutes ago. The 18th single from an album with only 14 songs. So
I don't think many people ever came to see me specifically. They just came because they knew there was good music that night.
But I think people looked at you as...
But I wasn't on the marquee ever.
I asked my butcher in the Star Market where I used to work, what's a good steak to buy? Because he was a butcher. The same way people would come to a club and see a DJ and be like, hey man, what's like a cool banging dance track I haven't heard? Nowadays, I think we've moved away from that in most genres and most clubs and most events. They don't want you to suddenly bang out something that only dropped 20 minutes ago.
Well, we play Sandstorm, we play Zombie Nation, and then like you got 20 minutes to finish the night. Like, what are you going to play next? It's like,
Alice.
How about this Get Ready for Launch song by this DJ Jean thing? And like,
let's see.
All of a sudden that blows up and like, wow. It's like,
there was that period where it's like,
how you can do no wrong. Right.
No, you couldn't lose. 99 to 2001. Well, I did it the other day. I did it on the 24-hour set. I played ATV, 9 p.m. till I come. And it's like, I remember that, Dahool, the Parade.
Give me the Love Parade. Yeah.
Yep. There was a bunch of those tracks that just were bangers. This is an area that I think there's so many compilations, and I'm only going to bring up one because I actually own this compilation.
Yeah.
This is one. If you don't have it, it's a 5-disc set, and it's called Living in Oblivion.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's five volumes.
5
you can
volumes.
buy them individually.
Right, you can. I will just give you a couple tracks off each volume real quick. Volume
I'm going to do it
1,
off memory.
Too Shy, Kajagoogoo.
Yeah.
Always Something There to Remind Me, Naked Eyes, Talk Talk, Talk Talk, Kids in America, Kim Wilde.
It was like crossover punk. It was almost like new wave punkish.
Yeah. But
I had a couple of those. Yeah.
There was this thing.
I remember those discs.
Right. But like volume 2, Mickey, Tony Basil, Get It On, Power Station, Lay Your Hands on Me, Thompson.
Isn't double Captain of Your Heart on there? Or Captain?
Oh, I'm sure it is.
And Fun Boy 3 ended up on there.
Yep, Heaven 17.
Reflex Politics of Dancing's on there.
Yep, it is.
Oh, yeah, do it off of memory.
Human League, Keep Feeling, Fascination, Perfect Way, Scritti Politti, Cruel Summer, Banana
Great song.
Dream Academy, Life in a Northern Town, Election Day, Arcadia.
When in Rome, The Promise is on there somewhere.
Yep. Then there are the bands that you've never, like I don't remember the Polecats. I do actually remember Make a Circuit with Me. No, I take that back.
A lot of that stuff's British.
Jelly Bean, Sidewalk Talk. I don't remember that.
That's Madonna.
It's My Life Talk.
That's
Talk. I just died in your arms.
Kind of.
Poison Arrow, ABC.
Yeah.
I mean, Dance All Days, Wang Chung. One Thing Leads to Another, The Fix. True, Spandau, Come On Eileen.
It almost sounds like a Richard Blake compilation. With
Right. It's a top 40 Casey Kasem, but with a little British seasoning.
A lot of British seasoning. It's a very much a Richard Blake
get over here.
Well, yeah, you want the British aspect. Here we go. Vienna by Ultravox, which no one over here has ever heard.
Right.
Steady by Jules Shear. Nobody over here really knew that one. Fun Boy 3, like you say, Our Lips Are Sealed, the original.
I think
Pleasure
that's Bananarama.
I think the best. Fun Boy, Our Lips Are Sealed.
Fun Boy 3, I think that's Bananarama. Before they were Bananarama. I think that's who that is.
But I thought Fun Boy 3 was the guy that Jane Wielden was having the affair with, who wrote Our Lips Are Sealed.
No, that was, what band was that?
You know what I'm talking about? Like
No, that's not who that was. Who the hell was that? That was a band I'd heard of, but I watched the documentary and I can't remember who it is.
But it's literally like you could do any event for an 80s event, pretty much every banger you're going to need.
I got to Google that because I might be way off on that. Let's see.
I'm looking it up too. Fun Boy 3 had no girls in it, so there goes that one. Terry Hall, Neville Staple, and Linval Golding.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she was having an affair with one of them. Okay, who sang Our Lips Are Sealed first? Terry
Go-Go's, they wrote it.
Specials in Fun Boy 3. First recorded with the Go-Go's. Okay, yeah. So it's their track. I think that's who she had.
He had lyrics for it, but she wrote the music. Jane Wyman wrote the music for it.
Right. So it was a Go-Go song, but to get into the gay clubs, we needed a man to sing it. So when Fun Boy 3 re-recorded it, and that's probably what happened.
Huh.
Why did I think that was
a pre-Bananarama?
Why did I think that? Where's my brain? I'm reading this. I'm just skimming it real quick and I'm seeing nothing. I don't know where I got that stupid idea.
I don't know. Decade was a blur. It all came and went so fast. Every time you turn around, there was 40 different songs.
Doesn't matter.
Quickly. It was just so, it evolved so quickly. And
there were
tracks that, like, I still to this day think one of the best songs that ever came out of the 80s was Nick Kershaw.
Wouldn't it be good?
Yeah. And yet he had another hit. But if you talk to like Alex from the UK, here's one of the 12 tracks he had that went number one. And I'm like,
it's like Madness, Our House.
Madness is a big band over there. We have Our House.
We have Our House.
Yeah.
That's it.
And they'll list like 15 years worth of music for a
very short list for Madness over here.
Yeah, very short.
Well, you know what's funny about that? I remember talking
to Cocktail Napkin, one song.
Yeah,
early.
One Step Beyond too.
Yeah, early 2000s. When Napster was happening.
Yep.
I met somebody in a Napster chat who I befriended.
And it was a man.
Because we had the same musical taste. No. And we were throwing stuff back and forth. It was a woman who lived in Hertfordshire. And we were throwing things back and forth, and she was turning me on to all kinds of cool music that I just didn't know. And she had mentioned American band. She was talking about Heart.
Yep.
And she was saying how, that first album with Alone on it was huge. I said, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
that first album with Heart Alone.
Album.
and she says, well, that release in the 80s, that was their first album. I'm like, no, it wasn't.
No.
And she's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, and she had no point of reference to this. And she knew her music.
Butterfly Days.
She knew her music. England didn't get any of that stuff.
No, they didn't.
But I'm like, here. Yeah. Check this out. I throw her like Barracuda Magic Man straight on, and she's like,
crazy.
Oh my God, this is better. I'm like, I know it.
Yeah.
Right.
But they didn't know. So we kind of did the same thing back then.
And Heart hates that album, and they don't play that album.
No.
If they do, it's solely based on management for it. They hated it.
Okay, JC is saying.
You got a fun fact here. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. JC is saying, Brian, you're not crazy. Bananarama and Fun Boy 3 really sang something in 1882. You're local there, pal. 1982. And yes, that's what I was thinking. That was the first time they did anything. Huh?
Yeah.
They had a collab?
Yeah, it must have been a collab.
Oh, okay.
That's where I got that from. So I'm not as...
totally makes sense.
Way back in 1882. I think that was the same year that... A Million Ways to Die in the West was supposed to be in. With,
I mean,
Seth
you know how
MacFarlane.
forced the We Are the World thing had to be over here to get American artists all together versus you go over there and you get, Midge of Ultravox and Boomtown Rats,
Bob Geldof,
and they make some phone calls and you have every massive pop artist of the day showing up with a hangover and recording in one day like it was nothing because they all knew each other. I think they all worked within.
You haven't been over there yet, have you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you haven't been over there yet, have you?
No, I haven't. But I get the impression that everyone knows everybody, at least musically. It seems
they all live on top of each other. They probably do know each other.
That's it. Yeah, or they're all seeing each other in certain areas. Even the old Sex Pistols interviews. Steve Jones, who used to have a great radio station in L.A., and he had a heart attack a couple of years ago and he quit the radio show. But he would tell stories on air about walking around Piccadilly Square and this place and that place and bumping into this one and that one and this one and that one.
Yeah.
And it was like a whole community of people that
I can see how that could be.
You were a musician, you knew each other, or you knew each other, or you did something with each other, or you showed up. And, the 60s and 70s are famous for these stories of the Rolling Stones asking people to come jam and Cream asking people to come jam and Hendrix going, hey, come down, Bob Dylan and Eric Clapton are going to be in the studio. We should do something. And it was
a small world.
It was music.
I mean, I've said some things about England that probably aren't fair. London is the bomb. I love London. London is really cool. It's the rest of the country that I struggle with.
Well, I regress. You are not as loved as you think. There are groups against you over there, so I would lay low for a little bit.
I know.
They fight you like soccer teams.
Coming back.
I totally
United versus Manchester. It's kind of like that thing over there.
I don't.
You really think the hoodie didn't get you in that club, my friend? I'll be blunt. Let's call a spade here, buddy.
Yeah,
it was the face, not the hoodie. They knew you.
Yeah, they knew who I was.
They knew you.
The evil American guy. The Yank. The ugly Yank. No, London's really cool, and I could totally see how there could be community there. Much like, London is sprawling,
right?
But I guess in a way, it's kind of like Manhattan, which is more consolidated.
Yeah,
it's like a giant Manhattan. Like if Manhattan was like 12 times or 20 times the size. But don't you think massive,
it's also the lack of having? We can name on one hand the famous studios in America. I'm confident in one hand I can name the top recording studios that this country has had or has.
You are more dialed into that than the rest of us, though.
But here's my point. I can only name 4 or 5 places. When it comes to New York, you had the Record Factory, you had Electric Ladyland, and I think there was like 2 other studios that were
Power Station
doors of artists. Yeah, Power Station.
Yeah.
They were revolving doors. So you'd have John Lennon walking out as Duran Duran was walking in.
Right.
I think the same is probably true in London, where you have 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 major studios, but you have 600 bands.
Well, it's not just
point are going to mesh into each other and be like, I love what you did. Can you do a bass line?
London has always been the epicenter, but you also have Birmingham,
right?
And you have Liverpool that have legitimate recording studios.
And Manchester. Look at what came
Manchester.
Out of Manchester.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stone Roses, the Smiths. I mean, a lot of stuff came out of Manchester.
Good stuff. Yeah.
This is America. Okay. For me to say to Jay, hey man, we're gonna do this thing in Los Angeles. So you should come up. He's like, cool, down, gets in his car, makes the drive, which is what, an hour 20?
Yeah, about that.
Okay. If you said the same thing to somebody in London, they would act like, well, no, that's too far. like to travel is like very inconvenient because none of them have cars. They got to get on trains and do it. They all had to, drive to this long way to this gig. It's like, well, how long? 2 hours. I'm like, dude, they act like, they had to I don't know, forward their calls and get their mail.
I faced that in Boston. I mean, it seems like, you look at where John lives. John lives south of the proper city of Boston. I was staying when I was there last December, north of the city of Boston and Revere. John, what was it? Maybe 25 minutes to get from where I was to your house?
Oh, at that time?
And less. Going through an entire city.
Right, driving through the city.
I moved to California and people were like, yeah, it's an hour and a half drive. I'm like, wow, that's really far. They're like, what do you mean? Like getting to LA is no big deal. I'm like, if I was in P-Town on the Cape and drove to the western part of the state and went into New York, I would only be driving for a little over 2 hours.
Right.
So people back east, I've driven from LAX to my house, Brian, 103 miles. No, 93 miles because I had to expense it. 93 miles took me 4 hours one day. I could go from Boston to Quebec, Canada in 5 hours. So the driving time, when you're in a smaller area where things are closer,
it's tighter. I can get from Boston to Philly in 5 hours. So
yeah, I drove from Atlantic City to my parents' house in under 5 hours. The last time they were still alive and I went to see them like 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And it took me less than 5 hours to go from Atlantic City to their house in Belmont. Now, that same amount of time, I could have gotten from LAX to Temecula in the same state and technically 3 cities apart from each other. Technically. So that's how insane it is when you look at going around. So I can understand people in London being like, oh, wow, hour and a half to get to the countryside. I'll skip that. If you're in a close proximity, travel becomes this weird thing with you. Look at the DJs we know, like Brian, look at the guys that have on their DJ website covering the tri-state area. I'm like, what's that mean? Well, I'm covering New Jersey, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, they're all like right next to each other.
Right. They're driving like my buddy
like
from
neighbors.
Minnesota. My buddy from Minnesota that moved out here. He's like, yeah, I used to have a trailer. You know, the average gig, you drive like 2.5 hours. I'm like, you guys realize in 3.5 hours, I'm in Las Vegas. Like you're driving that to a wedding. That's a long drive.
Right.
2.5, 3 hours. And we've had guys in the chill room who've been like, yeah, I've got to get up early tomorrow. I've got like a 4-hour drive to the wedding. I'm like, holy geez, 4 hours.
I've done that this year.
I mean, that's a haul.
And I didn't leave the
state. They don't say
Mm-hmm.
that. I've never heard them say, oh, I can't stand this driving 4 hours
It's
to
the
a wedding.
norm.
They're
Yeah.
just like, hey, I'm driving 4 hours to a wedding. Like, woo,
Right.
we're going to the Waffle
No, that's the
House.
norm. Yeah, that's very not the norm out here. No, it's like 45 minutes. If anything further than that, I'm in a different state. I'll be in New Hampshire or Rhode Island or Connecticut or something.
Yeah, no, you couldn't drive more than Newport, Rhode Island from Belmont, 62 miles. Foxy Lady was under 60 miles.
Hey, now.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
So I think it was last week, John was mentioning how there was this period of time that happened in the late 80s, early 90s, where the single was a thing.
Yes.
I remember those.
I might have a few.
And the way it, like, you know how you have a 45, it was kind of like a 45, really. There was a song
45s stopped getting produced, and the only way to get it was a cassette single.
And we all had that in our car.
And we had that cassette deck. We had that TIAC cassette deck that had the plus and minus 5 pitch adjust, right? Did you all have that?
I didn't.
Speed it up and slow it down. I had one that would play normal speed.
Punk in my Volkswagen.
And I had one that I could speed up or slow down.
Now, if we want to go there, we pull the covers off the front, use our fingers to slow it down. Speed it up.
Well, yeah.
That was a little harder. But this was like it wasn't a 12-inch single with a bunch of remixes and stuff on it. It was just the song, the radio edit, and then the flip side, which could be an instrumental of the song, or it could be a completely different like B-side track.
Or it could be the same song again, just in reverse, because it's going to auto reverse in your cassette deck and
right
play it
again. You hear it on repeat forever.
It's just same song, both sides. You could have that too.
I bought a couple. And the reason I bought them was because I kind of lived out in the country. Sometimes when I was in the city driving around in my car, I wanted to hear something immediately on my cool stereo, and I could do that with the single.
By the way, side note, when you said I lived out in the country, I heard Country Joe and the Fish doing "Going out to the country, wherever you want to go."
That's not what I got. Going out to the country, he's going to eat a lot of peaches. I got a different
you went
song
down
off
that one. Oh, okay. I see.
Well, it's weird because where my mother lives still, right? And the shop is connected to her house where I do all the car stuff. It's not suburb. It's too far out to be suburb. It's rural, which is a word I struggle saying, but so I call it the country because it's not in the village out there. It's in the township of this place, which is 90 square miles of nothing, except these like dumb little white flight subdivisions all over the place. So she lives there, and it's country. And to go to McDonald's back then, was a 20-minute drive. I mean, it wasn't, there was nothing. There was no stoplights or anything.
Oh, the struggle, Brian.
So if you
20-minute drive out here, I'll pass 6 McDonald's in 20 minutes.
Right. I mean, to go to the gas station, what was a 5-mile ordeal just to get to or any place to get a sandwich or a payphone when that was a thing.
And we wonder how Jeffrey Dahmer got away with it in this quiet community.
He didn't live out there. He lived in the city.
I'm just saying.
Hater.
The mentality was no one will hear him.
It's no place to eat. Well, eat, dine in.
Go to the guy.
Peaches, we're talking presidents, right? The country Peaches reference. President
of the United States.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
USA.
Okay,
yeah.
They also did Lump. That was their other big.
Yeah,
that was their bigger track, I think. Yeah. But I heard the Peach, so I'm like, I think that's presidents.
Yeah. I don't miss those bands. Anyway, John, what do you have for?
Would you like to pick one? I'm just going to go in the random grab.
Yes.
I'm not even going to look at what I'm pulling out. I got 20 of them here.
We need the sound effect of the wheel spinning.
Ooh.
I got an unopened because apparently I bought it on CD very quickly after.
And I've never even opened it. A pack of cigarettes.
Quad City DJs come on ride the train.
Heck yeah.
I got an original that's sealed on all sides.
Oh my gosh. That's got to be worth
even they're not going to pay for that.
Right. It's a 4-minute original mix and then a 607 instrumental on the flip.
Okay.
And I've got and Barry White is credited in the writing of this, which is.
They probably sampled something he did for that song.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Recorded and mixed at the Lemon Tree. I got all the notes, get all the little liner notes on the back. So did you buy this on record? Did you get it on cassette single or did you eventually get it on digital? How did you come on Ride the Train?
It came up on a compilation for me.
It was digital for me.
Was it?
Yeah.
It was on a compilation. I think it might have came up on one of my hot hits.
I think it's on one of the Jock Jams too.
Oh, I got where it's stolen from. They gave credit on the back, and I will tell you, it's theme from Together Brothers, as performed by Love Unlimited Orchestra.
There you go. That's Barry White.
Credit.
Oh, that's really cool. They went that extreme on it.
Love Unlimited. Even put it on they said, yeah, we paid you, and we'll even put it in print on it. So I have a cassette single unopened. It was $1.99 or 3 for $5, depends on where you made your purchase.
Sweet.
And John swears he thought it was a pack of Marlboro Lights, but
I really thought it was a pack of Marlboro Lights.
That's why I didn't open it.
I didn't know.
Damn it!
Well, it showed up on Jock Jams. I never had to open it. I'm like, oh,
sure.
Yes.
Oh, now I have it.
Yeah,
so now
forget it.
Well, we talked earlier, and like you said, Brian, I mean, I distinctly remember I bought Seal's "Prayer for the Dying" single, and I had the album. But the single, the B-side, was a piano version of Dreaming in Metaphors. And I'm like, I want that more. It's worth it for me to spend like another $3 and have it. Because I had a cassette player in the car and a CD player at home.
Mm-hmm.
So I hadn't upgraded to CDs in the car yet.
Sure. That was big money back then.
Well, yeah. And I had
for guys like us.
Well, in the mid-'80s, like mid to late, like 86, 87, I met a traveling nurse in Boston who was staying on Com Ave, like in the nice area over by the Reservoir, John, by BC, like right down from BC, because they would put them up in these beautiful apartments. And she's like, we were talking. She's like, I have a CD player in my car. I'm like, are you serious? She had an Audi 4000.
She was rich.
Yeah. So we go downstairs. She's from Arizona. Never
Glorified
forget. We get
Volkswagen.
downstairs. We hop in the Audi. I'm driving the 1978 Aspen wagon.
Don't get any speed bumps.
No, that's what I learned very quickly.
Anti-skip is a thing.
We started hitting bumps on Com Ave because they have tracks going down it. And all you heard was like, and it was a George Michael track. It was either a Wham CD or a George Michael.
Oh, it was Faith.
CD.
It was Faith. If it was 87.
And it was like
brand new.
Skipped all of it. She goes, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we had one of these at the radio station. It was like $1,000." She goes,
"If we parked, it'd be awesome.
Really expensive."
As long as we're sitting still, it plays great. Yeah, until you start moving and hit puddles.
You know what? Now that I think of it, I played in a golf tournament disguised as a pharmacist because I played golf, and my pharmacist said, "You have to be a pharmacist to play." But I
What do you play in a lab coat? How do you disguise yourself as a golfer or a pharmacist?
Just because they register you as a pharmacist, but it's like 100 pharmacists, so you're not going to talk shop. He goes, "Just don't get in any deep conversations." He goes, "But you know, we came in second, and we won Sony portable car CD players that had the cassette tape that you
the adapter with the cord.
They were
that was hot.
valued at like $500. This is 1990. I was working at Walgreens studying to be a pharmacist, and we won second place. First place, they got a full set of freaking tailor-made clubs in a bag. We get this CD thing. I pick it up, and I'm like, huh. And he looks at me, he goes, we can sell these for a lot of money. I go, what do you mean? He goes, they're worth like $500. I go, you got to be kidding me. $500 for this? I mean, my rent was like $350 a month. I'm like,
I know. And the Pioneer
Discman.
Oh, I think it was Pioneer or Magnavox, the RCA, the disc-to-disc burners for like $700, not $800 was crazy money. What else? The computers figured out they could do that.
I had a DJ in '96 come up to me. He goes, "Look what I bought." He hands me this little rectangle. I go, "What's this?" He goes, "It's a mini disc player." I go, "Oh boy." So he goes, "You can record from the mixer." I go, "What does that mean?" He goes, when you're playing all your CDs, I'm going to record all my big tracks onto one or two of these little mini discs. Then I don't have to worry about bringing CDs. And all of a sudden he was like showing up with this little bag of mini discs and playing everything in the club off a mini disc. I was like,
and they sounded awesome. Yeah. It was a Sony.
Great.
But it was proprietary for a while. It was hard to get everything,
Yeah. But he would just record the outboard into it.
Yep.
And then play them back. And it's like, trust me, a topless club, nobody's paying attention to the sound.
You want to do a second one? Do we have time?
Yeah, please.
Are we close to the buzzer? Ready?
Wait for Jay's monologue to be over.
I'm going to go with Shanice, I Love Your Smile.
Oh,
nice. That I bought. It's one of my most favorite songs ever. It's just such a joyous, and it's right up there with Amy Grant, right? It's like one of them happy songs that just makes you smile every time you hear it.
It's a great
such a beautiful song.
LP version on the A side, instrumental on the B side, cassette single.
Unfortunately, I found out the hard way. There are different versions of that song.
Yes.
Oh,
I got it on CD first. I got it. It was the Motown 25th anniversary.
That was a good version. That's the one I like.
That's the one I like too.
Does that have the break in the very beginning where there's like a little laugh?
They all have the break, but the instrumental's different. Like the instrumentation is different on each one.
Which is good, because whichever one I have, it's good, but I want to have the best one they have.
The best one is the one that Motown released.
Yeah,
like domestic Motown, but like in the UK, it's jazzed up. I don't know how else to describe it.
Okay,
but I don't care
because that is always put a smile on your face. Like
on every UK compilation that I ever had that on there, it's a jazzed up version of the track, and I don't like it. I like the American version better.
Mine's pretty straightforward, but I'll have to read
there are many versions, and there's one that's got like a rap break in the middle, which I'm not a fan of. And
I'm okay with the rap break.
You know what? Mine does have that, and then it slows down, and she talks for a half
my
second,
whole world was beautiful. Doon, 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 doon. Yeah, I don't mind that. But I hate the jazz. I'll find it for you after the show and play it for you. It's hot.
The jazzy version.
What else you got? All right,
I'm going to reach over. It's random. It's completely random. I'm not looking. Color Me Bad, All for Love.
Oh, that's like got Jay written all over it. Jay was one of those guys.
Well,
I think he was the one that looked like Kenny G.
I mentioned the 3 tracks earlier about Janet Jackson, Come to Me.
I adore
Force MDs and PM Dawn, Die for You.
Yeah.
And the track you've got to mix with that is Color Me Bad, Mi Amor. Let me tell you. You slay.
Yeah.
You slay. Yeah. Slay.
Nice.
1991. The flip side of the Color Me Bad, All for Love is called Color Me Bad. So they have a song named after their group.
We're running out of ideas, apparently.
Yeah. Like, what are we going to call this next one? I have no idea. 1991. That was the period, though. It was like 89 to 92. It was like, 45s all disappeared. You're like, I need this song. I need to be able to play this tonight. How'd you get it? You went into Strawberries or Sam Goody or Tower Records or whatever was available.
I
can't remember.
For $1.99 or whatever.
Maybe 4 that I bought. I bought Love and Rockets, So Alive. I bought Soup Dragons, I'm Free. Donna Summer, This Time I Know It's For Real. And Will to Power, I'm Not in Love. I think those are the only ones I ever bought.
The other thing is, just like 45s, they tended to always be the new thing. Like, I remember buying some 45s in the 70s where you could get older songs, whether it was a re-release or whatever. Because I bought a 45 of Bill Haley, and I just assumed I could buy 45s of any song I ever heard on the radio, and it didn't dawn on me. I got it because it was in American Graffiti.
Right.
And that's why they
reissued.
It's a soundtrack reissues. Yeah, a lot of reissues.
Put it on a 45. I'm like, this is amazing.
Show us more, John. I am very interested in that.
Oh, you want another one? I'm just going to go over. I'm not looking. This is random
work music.
I love it.
Wasn't like listening pleasure, was it? Because there's no metal, there's no like rock.
Well, I think we just broke the mold here. We're about to get into some rock and roll. I have Queen. The show must go on.
Great song.
Backed with Bohemian Rhapsody. That was the flip they put on it, and that's
weird.
1991.
Yeah, right. That was probably what they released right after he died.
It's an AIDS benefit.
That's why Bohemian Rhapsody then.
Yeah, AIDS concerns us all. The proceeds of this record will go to the Magic Johnson
you know what? Smart move to put Bohemian Rhapsody on it.
Well, he died, and wasn't it like
91?
91?
Yeah.
So that wow. Immediately afterward, perhaps, but like real quick afterward, or right before, I don't know which.
Well, did Elton John start his whole AIDS thing where he donated all the proceeds from his American single sales before Freddie Mercury died or after Freddie Mercury died?
Well, if he did it before Freddie Mercury died, it didn't help.
I didn't know he was in on that cause. I knew he did the Goodbye Princess Di versus the
Goodbye England
Jane.
I'm pretty sure
he recorded the song.
I will verify my information that could or could not be completely and utterly wrong, but I'm pretty sure he started a whole AIDS thing where he said, well, moving forward, I will donate all the sales of my American singles. That money will go directly into this foundation.
I know the one collection, and they came out with two of them that I'm aware of. Was the Red Hot collection. So the first one was Red Hot and Blue, and that had like Nina Cherry on it and U2 and all kinds of weird stuff. They were redoing Cole Porter songs, and all of the proceeds went to AIDS. And the second one was Red Hot and Dance. And the song that I can remember that was on Red Hot and Dance, and the reason I bought Red Hot and Dance was George Michael's Too Funky was only released on that.
And released elsewhere.
But that was all
right?
But benefit
like
stuff.
Back then, that's the only way you could get it, right?
Yeah.
It's been re-released since.
It was exclusive for,
Yeah.
He didn't have an album with it.
1992. Elton John started it in 1992 in the US and in the UK in 1993.
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Mission accomplished.
Singles would get donated, the money from that. I mean, he's from the old days of record sales made you money.
Yeah. So and they did back then too.
Oh yeah, no, that was still a period where you could, and listening to like Howard Stern do interviews with guys now, and even Bruce Springsteen a couple weeks ago, that's still a stellar interview. The game has changed. You don't just throw an album out there in hopes that your older crowd will go to that store. I mean, there's a Best Buy about 4 miles from here. That's probably the only spot that I can think of within, 50 miles that I could go buy content.
Yeah.
Oh, well, no, there's a Walmart nearby. I guess Walmart sells CDs still. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't think any records. I don't want to wait. I worked for a merchandising company that did CD merchant, and Best Buy got out of it, and they still have DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff.
Maybe they don't even have CDs anymore. I thought they used
every time
they got records. I was just there.
Every time they do a remerch, like the audio section gets smaller and smaller. It went from hundreds of feet to 80 feet to 40 feet to, hey, we don't need you to come in anymore.
They were like randomly placed on the shelf. I saw a copy of Metallica and Justice for All and Master of Puppets, and I thought, you know what? I don't buy re-releases, but if there's a copy of Ride the Lightning here, I'm buying it. And I couldn't find a copy of Ride the Lightning, so I didn't buy it. But it's probably out there. So what else you got, John? I'm curious.
I got a vinyl I can lend you. I do have Ride the Lightning on vinyl because I was that guy back in the day.
Yeah, no.
What do we get here? I get Kathy Dennis, Just Another Dream. This is one of J.C. Moray's favorites.
Yes.
I think he gave it to me because I didn't have a digital, and he sent me the file.
I have
Just
a question.
Dream. Yes.
Is Rick Astley doing backup on that song? I never knew.
I don't know if he's credited. Let me see. Shep Pettibone is the remix.
Right.
It is 1990. It's Polydor.
Yes.
Side 1 is the 7-inch single. Side 2 is the hot mix.
Okay.
And Rick Astley is not mentioned.
Not on the credits.
Anywhere.
It's probably not him, but it sounds like him doing backing vocals in the chorus.
Great song.
Another dream. I always thought it was him. Maybe not.
Great song. You all know Kathy Dance from Touch Me All Night.
Well, come on, get my love, D-Mob. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my favorite Kathy Dennis thing. That was amazing, by the way. That was incredible. And D-Mob had another really cool song called Put Your Hands Together that a lot of people don't know, but Kathy Dennis isn't on it. Sorry. What else you got, John?
I got to go look for that one. What was that called again?
Which one? D-Mob?
D-Mob, and I don't know if I know.
Kathy Dennis, Come On Get My Love. It's a wonderful song.
Yeah. I know that song.
I don't
and then
go look for that one.
The follow-up called Put Your Hands Together without Kathy Dennis. I'll play them for you after the show.
I don't know that track.
That's a cool track.
Sweet. Well, one more from the mysterious.
Yeah. Okay. We'll do one more, and then
one more. And then I got a quick question.
Good.
One more. Get Harry Connick Jr. I Could Only Whisper Your Name. Edit.
Wow.
Backsided with Trouble.
I got that on the Mask soundtrack, by the way.
1994, Sony Records.
I
just wanted that one song.
Great song.
Yeah.
Great.
Watch
credits of Mask. The Mask with Jim Carrey.
Did you guys ever get into live compilations or live music in general, like live recordings? I loved my top 10 albums. There's probably 4 live albums in it. So I loved the vibe of a live vinyl. And there was a thing that I got turned on to because they would bring people into play with each other who didn't record together. And it was a series called The Secret Policeman's Ball. You guys ever heard of that?
I've heard of that, yeah.
I've heard of that.
It was for the Prince or the
Prince's Trust?
Yeah, it was the Prince's Trust. And it funded that. It was part of a fundraiser for that. But they would bring out like Jeff Beck to do 'Cause We Invented His Lovers. But they'd also, it's one of the early shows, they brought in Eric Clapton and Jimmy Page to play on it too. Huge. So you would get shows like that. You would get Phil Collins doing In the Air Tonight, but he would do it with some other fantastic drummer as well and a different singer. And
sure,
it was just a mishmash of instruments and people. But it was one of those things that every year you were like, this is the only, again, pre-internet.
The open mic night of the Who's Who. Yeah. It's like.
It's hard to understand that when the internet didn't exist, we didn't have options. And you would get so just fired up about getting your hands on something. You know, I mean, this was the period of bootlegs. I don't even think people today know what a bootleg is. I've bought bootlegs. Like I've gone to stores and bought an illegal vinyl recording of a band live someplace that someone made and then sold. Like you couldn't find it in the regular section. You'd have to be like, hey, man,
didn't exist, right?
Hey,
there was a spot here in town called Atomic Records.
Down the aisle in the back. Come over here.
Yeah, Atomic had all that stuff. And they had the bootleg VHS concerts.
Yep.
And they had
VHS concerts were nice. Yep.
I mean, of course I was looking for all the Prince shit, but I mean, that was like, they had all that stuff.
Yeah. But it was a thing. There was an Aerosmith one I bought called Rattlesnake Shake, and I got it on cassette, and the recording was terrible, but I was like, oh, I have something live. And I recorded them at Boston in 1980 by literally hooking up my little cassette recorder against BCN's radio with the microphone, turning it up. And
we all did that. Oh yeah. I
bought this at Atomic.
That was the ingenuity of it.
It's demos.
Oh wow.
1984 Prince demos.
Who? Prince. Oh, okay.
And it's in a gold box. So it's the kind of stuff you used to get bootleg.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know what white label was till I became a DJ. When people would say white label, I didn't know what that meant. I was like, what's a white label? And then once I got into the game, it was like blah 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 white label. I'm like, and I pulled the DJ aside one time and I said, "Hey man, I'm sorry, I'm still really new to this. I mean, when I was in radio, we didn't have anything called white label. What the f is a white label?" White Label is one where they haven't agreed on it, or it's really kind of more of a bootleg, but it's
kind of a test
people
pressing.
know it's out there.
Yeah, test press.
It's going to authorize.
It's going to drive sales, though. It's going to make people interested.
It's going to get the song out there.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like a record pool thing. I'm like, what's a record pool? Like this was all, you guys were well ensconced in all that. I wasn't. I was coming from the club scene of like, hey, there's the band. Let's buy the CD. We're good. So I just remember when that world opened up to me, and then it was like, oh, you have to go to this store, but ask for Kevin.
Yeah.
And tell Kevin you want to see this, this, and this, and then Kevin will show you because they have separate vinyl section and separate CDs.
Yeah.
And it was
not for the general public. No, it's just for the guys
exactly.
That in clubs.
But, I mean, just like promo only, and just like all those services, Hot Tracks and X Mix, and there was a guy Jim from Chicago that would come to Mobile Beat. And you would walk in and he would have a table, a 6-foot table, and it would be Ultimix, Funky Mix, X Mix, Hot Tracks. I mean, my eyes would bug right out of my head. I'm like, wait, I can buy one of these? I don't need a subscription? He's like, no, man, I'm selling them $10 each. I'd spend like, $150 and walk out like, oh, I got the extended mix of ODB, got my money, it's clean.
Yeah.
And you would
I'd be psyched too.
Like that. And be like so thrilled. You're like, I don't know which one to play first.
Literally. The old days. Yep.
Now there's 18 remixes of every song, and you got to try to pick the best two.
You critique them. You're like, if it's not Purple Disco, I don't even want to hear it.
If it's too far from the original, I don't want it.
Yeah,
I gotta turn John Sionis and D-Mob, so I gotta cut this short, guys. Well, not short, actually. We're probably over.
Are we at it? I think we're at it. I think we're right about.
Oh, we're right at it. Close enough. Well, thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers.
I guess I have to stop it because Father Time.
This be the blooper reel now.
Happy Halloween, 2025.